Story RH, the podcast that makes a long story short.
Welcome to all.
History is made of stories.
In this episode, we'll be talking about motivation and its component parts.
Let's make one thing clear before we start. It's about more than just bonuses. How many times have we heard that the biggest source of motivation is the reward? But it's not that simple. For example, why do some people throw themselves into relatively low-paid jobs?
What is it that motivates us to do something? To make a decision, take a risk, or put in the effort? Where does motivation come from? What drives it? What's the story?
In her book Absurd Strategies, How to Make Things Worse by Trying to Make Them Better, French economist and author Maya Bovalet tells a story that shines a light on the matter. In Switzerland, in 1993, two towns were put forward as potential sites to store nuclear waste.
With no financial incentive whatsoever. 50.8% of the people in one town voted in favor, while, in the other town, only 24.6% of people voted for the initiative, even though they'd been given a financial incentive to sweeten the deal.
Did the financial incentive somehow kill the moral incentive? That's a paradox Swiss economist Bruno Frey has called disincentivizing incentives. There's more to it than money.
Motivation is a reason or reasons for doing something. That's the Oxford Dictionary definition.
But the sources of motivation can come in various shapes and forms. For Taylor, money was the motivator. Mayo focused on psychological factors. Maslow's pyramid shows a 5-tier hierarchy of needs underpinning motivation.
Hertzberg prefers a two-factor theory in which job satisfaction and dissatisfaction each have their own set of separate contributing factors.
But let's take a minute to look at the theory of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation developed by Desai and Ryan in the 1980s.
Intrinsic, inside, and extrinsic, outside. Intrinsic is the fire inside us that drives us. Extrinsic is the promise that pulls us along.
Exactly. Intrinsic motivation is our internal driver. When what we're doing is driven by our natural interest or enjoyment in the task itself, without any sort of external reward.
I'm doing this because I enjoy doing it, not because I expect to gain something from it. I paint because I like painting. I enjoy mixing the colors. I like feeling the paint on my fingers, not because I think I might be able to sell my painting for a lot of money. I paint because I like it.
In contrast, extrinsic motivation comes into play when the action is driven by an outside incentive. Things like the thought of gain, money, glory, or even fear of being punished or penalized, social pressure, etc. The carrot or the stick. Either way, it's extrinsic motivation.
Obviously, the issue isn't black and white. Intrinsic and extrinsic motivation go hand in hand. I throw myself into my work because I like what I'm doing on a daily basis, but also because I'm looking for some sort of recognition and I'm expecting some sort of bonus or reward.
To put it bluntly, people do things for love and money. Expectation is an integral part of motivation. It doesn't matter whether the motivation is intrinsic or extrinsic. I'm motivated because I'm hoping to gain satisfaction, pleasure, or reward.
That's the Victor Vroom expectancy theory. People will be motivated to put in the effort if they think they'll get something out of it. We'll be motivated if we see the effort as outweighed by the enjoyment, satisfaction, or reward gained from the expected outcome.
It's about investment and return on investment, about what you put in and what you get out. But the balance is subjective. It's about how a person sees that balance.
True, that's what Victor Vroom calls valence, or how much a person values the reward. But that's just one of 3 variables.
Right, he suggests people need to 1. Expect or believe they're able to attain the desired result, 2. See themselves receiving some sort of reward after achieving that result, and 3. See value in that reward.
To put it another way, if someone doesn't believe they can achieve the expected outcome, or if they see no real reward at the end of the line, or they feel the reward holds no real value, they won't be motivated.
That's why motivation and its counterpart, demotivation, are so complex. They depend on personal perception. One person's view of what holds value and what is attainable might not be the same in another person's eyes. So, what motivates me might not necessarily motivate you.
To recap, motivation is a set of reasons, internal or external, that lead us to take action. To be motivated, we need to see the effort outweighed by the benefits, all of which is highly personal, since the reasons that spur us to action and the way we see the outcome differ from one person to the next. Is that right?
Exactly right. Way to make a long story short.
Story RH, the podcast that makes a long story short.